What if I told you that the very thing you've been taught to worship your entire life, the one trait every self-help guru, every motivational speaker, every successful person swears by, is secretly destroying you from the inside? Self-control. You've been told it's the key to success, the foundation of discipline, the ultimate virtue. But here's what nobody talks about. Self-control has a dark side, a hidden shadow that creeps into your mind, poisons your relationships, and slowly, quietly, turns you into a prisoner of your own making. Today, we're going to expose the truth that society doesn't want you to know. By the end of this video, you'll never look at self-control the same way again. And more importantly, you'll learn how to use this knowledge to free yourself before it's too late. Stay until the end. What you'll discover in the final module will change everything. Let's begin. If you're new here, this is the place where we dive deep into the darkest corners of the human mind, where psychology meets philosophy, where we expose the hidden truths that control your thoughts, your emotions, and your entire life. So if that sounds like something you need, hit that subscribe button right now. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming. Now, let me ask you something. Have you ever felt exhausted, not from working too hard, but from controlling yourself too much? Have you ever felt like you're constantly at war with your own desires, your own impulses, your own humanity? Have you ever wondered why, despite all your discipline, despite all your self-control, you still feel empty inside? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then you've already experienced the dark side of self-control. You see, the ancient Stoics understood something that modern psychology is only now beginning to uncover. Self-control is a double-edged sword. Used wisely, it can set you free. Used blindly, it becomes a cage. And today, we're going to expose exactly how this works. We'll explore the dark psychology behind excessive self-control, the hidden costs that nobody talks about, the psychological traps that turn discipline into destruction. But don't worry, we won't leave you in the darkness. By the end of this video, you'll have the tools to find balance, to use self-control without becoming its slave. This is going to be a deep journey, so get comfortable. Let's expose the dark side of self-control. Here's the first truth that will shake your understanding of self-control. Self-control is an illusion. Now, before you click away, hear me out. I'm not saying self-control doesn't exist. It does, but the way you've been taught to think about it is fundamentally flawed. Society has sold you a lie, a beautiful, seductive lie that sounds something like this. If you just have enough willpower, if you just control yourself hard enough, you can achieve anything. Sound familiar? This is the self-control illusion. The belief that success is simply a matter of white-knuckling your way through life, of crushing your desires, of suppressing your impulses. But here's what dark psychology reveals. Willpower is a finite resource. Studies have shown that self-control depletes throughout the day. Every decision you make, every temptation you resist, every impulse you suppress, drains your mental energy. This is called ego depletion. And when your willpower runs out, you don't just lose control, you lose yourself. Think about it. Have you ever been so disciplined during the day, only to completely break down at night? Binge eating, mindless scrolling, emotional outbursts. This is ego depletion in action. The dark side of self-control is already at work, but it gets worse. The more you rely on self-control, the more you deplete your mental reserves, the weaker your decision-making becomes. This is the paradox that nobody tells you about. The more self-control you use, the less self-control you have. The ancient Stoics understood this. Marcus Aurelius himself wrote about the dangers of fighting against yourself constantly. True mastery is not about endless resistance. It's about strategic acceptance. But we'll get to that later. For now, understand this. Self-control is not unlimited. It's not a magic solution. And if you treat it like one, you're setting yourself up for a collapse. Remember this. It's crucial for what's coming next. If this is already making you think differently about self-control, drop a comment below. Tell me, have you ever experienced ego depletion? That moment when your willpower just ran out? I want to hear your story. Now, let's go deeper. Here's where the dark side of self-control gets truly sinister. You see, most people think self-control means suppressing their desires, crushing their impulses, pushing down their emotions. But dark psychology reveals a disturbing truth. Suppression doesn't eliminate. It amplifies. This is one of the most important principles you'll ever learn. When you try to suppress a thought, that thought becomes stronger. Don't believe me? Try this right now. For the next 10 seconds, do not think about a white bear. Whatever you do, don't picture a white bear in your mind. What happened? You thought about the white bear, didn't you? This is called the ironic process theory, discovered by psychologist Daniel Wegner. The more you try to suppress something, the more your mind becomes obsessed with it. And this applies to everything. Trying to suppress your appetite, you become obsessed with food. Trying to suppress your anger, it builds and builds until you explode. Trying to suppress your desires, they grow stronger and more uncontrollable. This is the dark psychology of suppression, and it explains why so many disciplined people eventually have massive breakdowns. Think about the countless stories you've heard. The strict diet follower who suddenly binges uncontrollably. The calm, controlled person who snaps in a fit of rage. The highly disciplined individual who secretly engages in destructive behaviors. This is not a coincidence. This is the suppression effect in action. The dark side of self-control creates a pressure cooker inside your mind. And eventually, that pressure must be released. The Stoics knew this. Seneca warned about the dangers of fighting against nature itself. He wrote that anger suppressed doesn't disappear. It transforms. It becomes resentment, bitterness, silent rage. The same applies to all suppressed emotions and desires. When you use self-control to suppress rather than understand, you're not solving the problem. You're creating a ticking time bomb. And when it explodes, the damage is far worse than if you had simply addressed the issue from the start. This is the hidden cost of excessive self-control. But wait, it gets even darker. What happens when suppression becomes your entire identity? That's what we'll expose in the next module. Stay with me. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine someone who has mastered self-control. They wake up at 5 a.m. every day. They follow a strict routine. They never give in to temptation. They control every aspect of their life with military precision. From the outside, they look like the perfect success story. But from the inside, they're falling apart. This is the control freak trap. And it's one of the most dangerous psychological patterns you can fall into. You see, when self-control becomes your identity, something dark happens. You start to believe that control equals safety. That if you can just control everything, nothing bad will happen. But here's what dark psychology reveals. The need for control is rooted in fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of the unknown, fear of losing yourself. And when fear drives your self-control, you don't become stronger. You become brittle. Think about it. A tree that is too rigid snaps in the wind. A person who is too controlled breaks under pressure. This is the paradox of the control freak trap. The more control you seek, the more fragile you become. Because here's the truth that nobody wants to accept. You cannot control everything. Life is chaos. Uncertainty is the only certainty. And the universe doesn't care about your carefully structured plans. When you build your entire identity around self-control, you become terrified of anything that threatens that control. An unexpected event, a change in plans, a moment of weakness. Suddenly, your entire sense of self is under attack. And that's when the dark side of self-control reveals itself fully. Anxiety, obsessive behavior, emotional numbness, isolation. These are the symptoms of someone trapped in the control freak cycle. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught something profound about this. He said there are things within our control and things outside our control. And wisdom, true wisdom, lies in knowing the difference. The control freak doesn't understand this. They try to control everything. And in doing so, they control nothing, including themselves. If you're recognizing yourself in this, don't worry. You're not alone. In fact, hit the like button right now if this is opening your eyes to something you've never considered before. The more likes this video gets, the more people will discover these hidden truths about self-control. Share this knowledge. It matters. Now, let's go even deeper into the dark side. Here's something that will change how you understand yourself. Self-control can lead to emotional bankruptcy. What does that mean? It means that excessive self-control doesn't just drain your willpower. It drains your soul. Let me explain. When you constantly suppress your emotions, when you always control how you feel, you don't become emotionally strong. You become emotionally dead. This is called emotional numbing. And it's one of the most devastating effects of the dark side of self-control. Think about someone who never allows themselves to feel sad, never allows themselves to feel angry, never allows themselves to feel vulnerable. What happens to them? They lose the ability to feel anything. Joy becomes muted. Love becomes shallow. Life becomes gray. This is emotional bankruptcy. You've spent so much energy controlling your emotions that you have nothing left to actually feel. Dark psychology reveals that emotions are not problems to be solved. They are signals to be understood. Anger tells you that your boundaries have been crossed. Sadness tells you that you've lost something meaningful. Fear tells you to pay attention. When you use self-control to suppress these signals, you don't become wiser. You become blind. Blind to your own needs. Blind to your own desires. Blind to your own humanity. And the worst part? You don't even realize it's happening. Emotional bankruptcy creeps in slowly, day by day, suppression by suppression, until one day, you wake up and realize you don't know who you are anymore. You've controlled yourself so much that there's no self left to control. This is the dark side of self-control at its most destructive. Marcus Aurelius himself struggled with this. Despite his legendary self-discipline, his personal writings reveal a man battling deep melancholy and existential emptiness. Even the greatest Stoic emperor was not immune to the dark side of self-control. But there's hope. There's always hope. The key is not to abandon self-control. It's to transform it. And that transformation starts with understanding one crucial concept. Which brings us to the next module. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever felt like no matter how hard you try, it's never enough? No matter how disciplined you are, you could always be more disciplined? No matter how controlled you are, there's always something else to control? If this resonates with you, you might be trapped in what I call the perfection prison. And this is where the dark side of self-control becomes truly suffocating. You see, self-control and perfectionism often go hand in hand. The same traits that make you disciplined also make you critical of yourself, of your efforts, of everything. And when perfectionism takes over, self-control becomes a weapon you use against yourself. Dark psychology shows us that perfectionism is not about high standards. It's about fear of inadequacy. The perfectionist doesn't pursue excellence for its own sake. They pursue it to avoid feeling worthless. And no amount of self-control will ever be enough. Because the goal is impossible. Perfection doesn't exist. So the perfectionist keeps controlling, keeps disciplining, keeps pushing, but the finish line keeps moving. This is the perfection prison, a cage of your own making, where the bars are built from unrealistic expectations, and the lock is sealed by relentless self-control. Many people spend their entire lives in this prison, without even realizing they're trapped. They think they're being productive, being disciplined, being successful, but they're really just suffering. The Stoics understood this trap. They taught the concept of progress, not perfection. Seneca wrote that we should strive to be better than yesterday, not perfect by tomorrow. This is the antidote to the perfection prison. But escaping requires more than knowledge. It requires a fundamental shift in how you view self-control. A shift we'll explore in the coming modules. Before we continue, I want to ask you something. Are you still with me? Have you made it this far? If you have, you're already different from 90% of viewers who click away. You have the patience, the curiosity, the hunger for real knowledge. And that tells me something about you. You're ready for the next level. So subscribe to Psyvenix right now if you haven't already. Turn on notifications, because what we're about to reveal goes even deeper. Let's continue. Here's a truth that will hit close to home for many of you. Excessive self-control destroys relationships. And I don't just mean romantic relationships. I mean all relationships. Friendships, family bonds, professional connections. When the dark side of self-control takes over, everyone around you suffers. Let me explain how this works. When you're always in control, you become impossible to connect with. Think about it. Connection requires vulnerability. It requires letting your guard down. It requires showing your true self. But the person trapped in excessive self-control can never do this. They're always managing their image, always filtering their words, always controlling their reactions. And people can feel it. They sense the wall, the distance, the emotional unavailability. Dark psychology reveals that humans are wired to connect with authenticity. We don't trust people who seem too perfect, too controlled, too together. Something feels off. And so, ironically, the very self-control you use to appear strong makes you appear suspicious. But there's more. Excessive self-control often leads to control of others. When you're obsessed with controlling yourself, you start trying to control the people around you, their behavior, their choices, their emotions. You become critical, judgmental, demanding, because deep down, you believe that if you can just control everything, you'll finally feel safe. But you won't. You'll just feel alone. This is how the dark side of self-control destroys relationships. It turns you into a fortress, impenetrable, untouchable, and ultimately, unloved. Marcus Aurelius, despite all his wisdom and self-control, struggled with connection. His relationships with his children were strained. His personal writings reveal a man isolated by his own discipline. Even emperors are not immune to this trap. The lesson here is profound. Self-control without warmth becomes coldness. Discipline without love becomes cruelty. Strength without vulnerability becomes isolation. Remember this. It's essential for understanding the complete picture of self-control. Now we enter the deepest territory of the dark side of self-control. We're going to talk about something that psychologist Carl Jung called the shadow self. And this is where everything comes together. Listen carefully. Every human being has two selves. The self you show the world, and the self you hide. The controlled, disciplined, acceptable version, and the wild, impulsive, forbidden version. The shadow self is everything you've suppressed, everything you've controlled, everything you've denied. And here's what dark psychology reveals about the shadow. The more you suppress it, the stronger it becomes. Remember the white bear experiment from earlier? Your shadow self works the same way. Every desire you crush, every impulse you suppress, every emotion you deny, feeds the shadow, and it grows in the darkness of your unconscious mind, waiting. This is the ultimate dark side of self-control. You think you're building discipline, but you're actually building a monster made of everything you've refused to accept about yourself. And eventually, the shadow demands to be seen. This is why controlled people often have the most extreme breakdowns, the most shocking scandals, the most unexpected outbursts. The shadow doesn't disappear. It erupts. The Stoics understood this principle. They taught that we must acknowledge our darker impulses, not just suppress them. Epictetus said that we should examine our thoughts, even the darkest ones, with curiosity rather than condemnation. Marcus Aurelius wrote about accepting his own capacity for anger, desire, and weakness. They knew that true self-mastery requires integration, not elimination. You cannot kill your shadow. You can only learn to work with it. And that is the key to escaping the dark side of self-control. Not more suppression, but integration. Not more control, but understanding. Not more discipline, but wisdom. This is what separates the truly strong from those who merely appear strong. We're approaching the final revelation, the most important part of this entire video. Before we get there, do something for me. If you've made it this far, share this video with someone who needs to hear this message. Someone who's been told their whole life that more control is always better. Someone who's struggling with the weight of their own discipline. You could change their life today. Now, let's finish this journey. You've traveled through the darkness with me. You've seen the illusion, the suppression, the control freak trap, the emotional bankruptcy, the perfection prison, the relationship destruction, the shadow self. Now, it's time for the light. Because understanding the dark side of self-control is not enough. You need the solution, and that solution comes from the ancient Stoics themselves. It's called balanced mastery. Let me explain. True self-control is not about maximum suppression. It's about optimal regulation. It's not about crushing every impulse. It's about directing your energy wisely. It's not about being controlled. It's about being in control of what matters. The Stoics taught that there are only a few things truly within our control. Our judgments, our intentions, our responses. Everything else is not ours to control. When you focus your self-control on what truly matters and release the need to control what doesn't, something magical happens. You become both disciplined and free, controlled and spontaneous, strong and vulnerable. This is balanced mastery. Here's how to achieve it. First, practice selective self-control. Stop trying to control everything. Identify what truly matters and focus your discipline there. Let go of the rest. Second, embrace your shadow. Acknowledge your darker impulses. Don't act on them blindly, but don't suppress them either. Understand them. Integrate them. Use their energy constructively. Third, allow emotional flow. Stop suppressing your emotions. Feel them fully, then let them pass. Emotions are temporary visitors, not permanent residents. Fourth, accept imperfection. You will fail. You will slip. You will lose control sometimes. And that's okay. Progress, not perfection. Always. Fifth, prioritize connection. Let people see the real you, the vulnerable you, the imperfect you. That's where real connection lives. This is the Stoic path to self-mastery. Not control through suppression, but power through wisdom. Not strength through rigidity, but resilience through flexibility. The dark side of self-control exists. It's real, and it's dangerous. But now, you know how to avoid it. You have the knowledge, the awareness, the tools. Use them wisely. Let me leave you with this final thought. The greatest prison is the one you don't know you're in. For years, maybe decades, you've been told that self-control is purely positive, that more discipline is always better, that suppressing yourself is the path to success. But now you know the truth. Self-control has a dark side, a shadow that grows in the darkness of your unconscious, a price that few are willing to acknowledge. Today, you've taken the first step toward true freedom, not the freedom from discipline, but freedom within discipline, not the rejection of self-control, but the mastery of self-control. You are no longer blind. You are no longer a slave to the illusion. You are awake, and that is the most powerful thing a human being can be. Remember the Stoic truth. We suffer not from the events of our lives, but from our judgment about them. The same applies to self-control. Self-control itself is neither good nor bad. It is your relationship with self-control that determines its effect. Use it as a tool, and it serves you. Worship it as a god, and it enslaves you. The choice is yours. It has always been yours. Now you know how to choose wisely. You made it to the end, and that tells me something about you. You're not like everyone else. You have the patience to dive deep, the courage to face uncomfortable truths, the wisdom to seek real knowledge, not just entertainment. That's rare, and that's powerful. If this video opened your eyes, if it made you think differently about self-control, then do 3 things right now. 1. Hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. Psyvenix is just getting started, and the knowledge we're uncovering here will transform your understanding of the human mind. 2. Leave a comment below. Tell me your biggest takeaway from this video. I read every single comment, and I want to hear from you. 3. Share this video with someone who needs it. Someone trapped in the dark side of self-control. You might just set them free. The dark psychology of self-control has been exposed. The Stoic Solution has been revealed. Now, it's your turn to apply it. Until next time, stay aware, stay powerful, stay free. This is Psyvenix.